huge network of tunnels underneath. It looks like a spider web.
That's crazy that this is where they cut it off and not like other stuff. That's okay. Let's see.
Yocheved Lifshitz also spoke about how the hostages that she was with in Gaza were treated.
My mom is talking about coming there. When they arrived into a large hall. About 25 hostages were gathered, and after 2 or 3 hours, those hostages, 5 of them, she among them, were taken into a separate room. My mom is saying that they were very friendly towards them and that they took care of them, that they were given the medicine. That they were given medicine and they were treated. One of the men with them had badly injured from a motorbike accident on the way, and the paramedic was looking after his wounds. He was given medicine and antibiotics, that the people were friendly, that they kept the place very clean. They were very concerned about them.
You thought they cut that part? Lol, nice one. The reason why I thought they cut that part was because every single article that has been written on this, and the principle goes as follows. Dog bites man, that's not interesting. Man bites dog, that's newsworthy, right? This cuts against every single thing that has come out so far. There's a reason why you don't hear from the other peace activists that were in those same kibbutzim that have been talking about their perspective and who is to lay the blame on in this horrifying massacre that they withstood. There's a reason why it is also literally illegal to actually show things like this and to actually say things like this in general. Lifshitz press conference panned as disastrous for Israel, PR win for Hamas. I will show you exactly, I will detail to you exactly the many different moments where Israeli officials said showing this would have been absolutely, this was just a horrible idea, that she should have been vetted before being allowed to speak. Yocheved Lifshitz offered the first public account to emerge from more than 200 hostages estimated to be held in Gaza. 85-year-old held hostage in Gaza says she went through hell. She said that. There are parts of this, of her story, that are still truly horrific. I mean, she said they beat her with sticks. That's what she said originally when they were trying to apprehend her. Like, that's horrifying. And of course, if you only covered that aspect of it, which many news in the Western press did, which is understandable, that certainly is something you should cover. That's objective journalism. This is something to absolutely cover. But if you just cover that and bury the lead, yeah, she was hit with sticks while riding the motorcycle. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. This is an 85-year-old woman, right? Mentioning that is perfectly appropriate. Of course, that's the news. You're supposed to cover it. Burying the lead, however, on the other side of the story as to why she shook the hands of a Hamas militant and what her perspective is, and telling the Hamas militant shalom after shaking his hand, which has been a incredibly polarizing moment in Israel as far as I understand it. Like, a lot of people saw that and were losing their fucking minds over it, at least those who did see it. For you to understand the situation on the ground in Israel as best as possible, you have to remember that currently there are not just Palestinian citizens of Israel, but also Israeli citizens, Jewish citizens inside of Israel that are currently being apprehended by forces for saying things that are considered to be demoralizing to the IDF. This is the circumstance on the ground. This is the circumstance on the ground right now. So coverage like this completely cuts against, even if it's just an adequate representation of events. And there are 200 other hostages. Not all of them are going to have this perspective. Not all of them are going to say that their conditions were nice. Some of them are going to, and probably have, withstood horrifying moments. They will explain that. But the fact that people are, and this is not enough for me to like make an assessment or to say that like, look how good Hamas is or anything like that. That is not what I'm saying. But the idea that like having this be played is considered a crime basically in Israel. And the reaction overall from what I've seen online is crazy. Oh, she didn't say Hamas hit her with sticks. I believe she said sticks hit her as they rode through a field, not that they were hit with a stick mid-motorcycle ride. Oh, that was a mistranslation. Anyway, regardless, that the way that the media covered it was like that is what was happening, that like they beat her with sticks and that it was hellish. I think or it could have been civilians that hit her with sticks. I don't know. But it doesn't matter. What you need to understand is the likelihood of her saying this, an account that actually is quite similar to other accounts that have also been portrayed in Israeli media, is partially because there are a lot of people that live in these fucking communes that literally for 85 years have been working on recognizing the dignity and humanity of Palestinians in Gaza. This lady is one of these people, according to her own family's takes on the matter. That there are a lot of situations where inside of Gaza there isn't enough medical help that people can get. Sometimes Gazans have to be taken outside of the Gaza Strip and medevaced into Israeli hospitals. There are Israeli doctors that work on Palestinians from Gaza. One of those doctors, as a matter of fact, is currently being persecuted, which I will talk about as well. Dr. Abed Samara from Hasharon Hospital, who has invested his entire life in the Israeli health system. He has been treating Jews and Arabs wholeheartedly for years, but in one moment his life collapses. He is fired, accused of supporting terrorism and siding with Hamas. The reality is the opposite. But does the truth even matter? So this is something that I've tried to stress before, that there are people inside of Israel, obviously marginal for the most part and marginalized in general, that have dedicated their lives to ending the occupation. There are activist groups that have dedicated their lives into ending the occupation. Their voices, unfortunately, do not ever get heard. And now their voices are criminalized. Understand something. It is criminal. Omdim Beyachad translates to standing together. They're a peace movement, and the police constantly take down their pro-peace posters. Their demonstrations have been violently suppressed, even before and certainly after the last siege on Gaza. This lady, according to her family, is she's not a part of this group, but she has helped transfer Palestinians out of Gaza into Israeli hospitals in the past. People that do stuff like that, of course, are going to recognize the humanity of Palestinians and are going to have a very different perspective on the matter than those who are championing blood and soil narratives thousands of miles away. I went through hell, Ms. Lifshitz told reporters the day after her release, sitting in a wheelchair at a hospital in Tel Aviv amid a thicket of microphones. She was freed along with Nurit Cooper, 79, on Monday, and transferred from Hamas custody to Israeli forces via the International Committee for Red Cross in Egypt. Both of their husbands are still being held hostage in Gaza. Her account of the tunnels offered a glimpse of the difficulties facing Israel as it weighs whether and how to launch a ground invasion of Gaza to eliminate Hamas, which led to devastating October 7 attacks against Israel. Hamas has built a labyrinth of underground passages in Gaza for its fighters, military analysts said, complicating both Israelis' anticipated ground invasion and any attempt to rescue the hostages. Ms. Lifshitz's voice at times faltered as she recalled her abduction and the horrors suffered by her neighbors when Hamas attacked her town of Kibbutz near Oz. Her daughter, Sharon, who was crouched at her side on Tuesday, occasionally translated for foreign journalists. Many people stormed our homes. They beat people. Some of them they abducted, like me, Ms. Lifshitz said. It made no difference. They abducted the elderly and the young. This is important to understand because it's not like she's explaining the situation in a specific direction. She is just giving her firsthand accounts. This is constant with the immediate interviews that were conducted inside of kibbutzim, inside of the people that survived the attacks in the kibbutzim, where they would very openly be like, these are Hamas terrorists that came, but then they would talk about their experiences that contradicted some of the testimony. Now, if you're saying on the one hand that they're terrorists, like you obviously aren't, you're obviously not like doing propaganda for Hamas in the same way that like a lot of people will immediately rush to claim. It's not like she's fucking pro-Hamas, okay? In my memory, I have these images all the time, she added later. She said her kidnappers hauled her onto a motorcycle and beat her painfully in the ribs, making it hard for her to breathe, and also took away her watch. They drove off through the fields surrounding near Oz. They took her through a network of tunnels until they reached a large hall where about 25 people were, she said. After about 2 to 3 hours, they separated 5 people from her kibbutz into their own room where they were overseen by guards and a medic, she said. Ms. Lifshitz said that she and others were relatively well taken care of, given medicine and the same food as their captors. Fearing disease, her captors worked to sanitize the area, she said, and doctors would visit sporadically to check on them. They treated us gently and fulfilled all of our needs, she said. Hamas has released 4 hostages, including Judith and Natalie Ra'anan, American Israeli citizens who were freed last week. Ms. Lifshitz is the first released hostage to speak publicly about her ordeal. Ms. Lifshitz's husband, Oded, an Israeli journalist and peace activist, remains in Hamas captivity, according to Israeli authorities. The Hamas-led attacks against Israel's border communities shocked and traumatized the country. Israel has repeatedly fought short battles with Palestinian militants in Gaza in recent years, but nothing approaching the scale and brutality of the assault. Ms. Lifshitz at times criticized the Israeli military, saying that it and the Shin Bet domestic security service had ignored warning signs of the threat to towns near Gaza. The Israeli military's chief of staff acknowledged after the attacks that the military had failed to live up to its own mission to protect Israel's citizens. It's so strange, how strange that people who are direct